For our interview this month, I'm joined by Tony Margaritelli, who is the chairman of ICPA, an organisation that was set up to work with smaller practices to make sure that smaller practices got what they deserved. And so the assumption there is that there was a need for ICPA because the main institutes weren't doing enough for those smaller firms.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that was the case when we first started, and it hasn't gone away because we're still here. The numbers are increasing. I can't remember the numbers we're up to. I think we're up to about 850 plus practices and individuals over 1,100. The need is still there, and as I always say, that if the institutes, our major institutes, looked after their small practice accountants and recognised their value and diverted attention towards them, there'd be absolutely no need for us to be here. I could get back to doing some double entry and accountancy and life would be great. But that's not what's been happening and what is happening, and that's why the ICPA are there, purely to focus in on small practice accountants and to fill the gap that's been left.
And so this is true across all professional bodies, you think? We're not picking any out in particular?
No, this is across the board. We have members from every single institute. You name it, we have members from every single institute. And the message is the same, that if they're coming to us, why would they come to us unless there was a need to? And that is the need. Small practice accountants are as unique, in my opinion, as a liquidator. They're as unique as an auditor. They're as unique as a tax consultant. But yet they're not given the credence by the institutes that they actually should.
And the distinction in accountancy is always slightly odd with large, medium and small, in that there are only 4 large and there's a lot of medium and a lot of small.
A heck of a lot small,
If we look at the pyramid, we're talking about sole traders, 2-partner, 3-partner?
Yeah, you're talking sole traders through to 3 or 4 partners and with a predominantly local client base. However, with the march of the internet, that is the client base angle is changing and people are pulling clients from further away because of internet presence, etc. But in terms of the practice, no, you're looking at basically 1 man up to 3 and 4 partners. I think once you get past that level, then the institutes have all manner of things that they can help you with, and you've got more staff, you've got more partners who can be dedicated to help you out. It's below that, it's where you need all the help you can get because there's only so many hours in a day.
And so when the HMRC want to go through a piece of consultation on it, on any matter, obviously anybody can reply to it. Generally the responses come from Big Four and the main professional bodies. Are you saying that when the professional bodies reply to those consultations, they're not thinking about it from a small firm perspective?
Absolutely. And we try and get involved and respond to as many consultations as we possibly can on behalf of our members. But remember, we're keeping it linked, specific to small practices. So we're not getting involved in airy-fairy stuff. We'll leave that to other people. We're in the real nitty-gritty of accountancy and tax, the day-to-day stuff. So when anything like that comes up, then we try and get involved and put in consultation responses. But when you look at the responses that go in from the principal institutes and organisations, you just look at it and you can see there's a lack of understanding as to what is really going on. There's great assumptions, swathes of assumptions made that are just at small practice level and nonsensical. And that's why we're trying to get the message across to HMRC. And I think HMRC are pleased that we have become involved because they can see that we actually do. Our members do use that gateway every single day. Our members are involved daily and we're the people that they want to get to say, how are you finding, what's going wrong, etc., etc. So they've been kind of pleased that we've been involved.
So you said that the nitty-gritty, and of course for those people in practice, the day-to-day nitty-gritty is talking to the revenue. It is those ins and outs of daily communication with the revenue. A very, very broad question. How's that working out for you?
Well, we've just seen that HMRC announced that they're going to put more funds towards communication and talking. The biggest problem, as I said before, and everyone will know it, is you can't get to talk to anyone at HMRC. The phone lines are a joke, frankly. Agent account managers, don't even get me started on that. I mean, everyone will tell you they're wonderful things, and the reality is, no, they're not.
And why aren't they?
If you're a situation where you have a problem, right, now you've got a problem with the client, maybe a CIS refund, let's take it obviously, right, CIS refund for a limited company takes an eternity and is an absolute disgrace that's going on. But you're banging your head against the wall, the refund's not being made, you've spent countless hours trying to source this out. You're now at the end of your tether. I know the light bulb lights up above your head. I'll get in touch with my agent account manager. Right, so you get in touch with your agent account manager. So what's going on, Mr. Marty? Well, I'm not getting my CIS refund. Oh, why is that, do you think? Well, can you put this in right? Can you tell me you write it? Well, I've just gone through all this and now I've got to tell you again. Okay, so then you have to rewrite more time, dedicated time to explaining your problem to someone who's not involved on it directly, like HMRC. You know, this is a third party that you're hoping is going to intercede on your behalf. So you spend even more time explaining it, send it off. Back comes the question, oh, I can't see that. And then what's the answer? Well, we'll put it forward. And you think, what was that all about? Agent account managers, not had anyone say much about them other than they're there, but what the heck.
So bearing in mind, one of the ideas there was that it would reduce the lost chargeable time.
Nonsense.
Has it gone the other way?
It's increased. You've got a background in tax and you know, obviously, the crux of it is you've got to fully understand what's going on before you can even think about a solution. You've got to get down and understand exactly. The agent account manager is having exactly the same problem. It's no good me screaming down the phone, I can't get my refund. What refund? What have you done? How have you gone about it? Did you follow procedure? So you have to inform them. But by the time you're screaming, you've done all that. And you're having to tell someone else what you've told the person they're going to respond to that you've done. So it always increases the time. And I often say, you know, in terms of sheer cost in time to the accountant, or, you know, to just let it go. Just concentrate, keep firing away at HMRC. Don't involve the agent account manager, because then tension gets diverted. You know where you've got a problem, go for that. Don't forget the agent account manager.
And although I would argue it's not tax at all, Auto Enrolment, of course, is coming in as well, which for somebody like you and your members is going to be something you've got to do.
Yeah, Auto Enrolment at small practice level, small business level, our IFA chums have abandoned us. They don't want to know, there's no money in it for them. The major pension providers don't want to know someone with 2 or 3 employees. So at small practice level, it's going to end up with, well, where are our businesses, where are our clients going to go? They're going to talk to Tony, who does the payroll. They're going to talk to the payroll people or their accountant, because they're the only ones left who are saying, yeah, talk to me. So we're going to have to get involved with that. The biggest problem with auto enrolment is, at the moment, we haven't even got, we're working on engagement letters. None of the institutes have brought out, to my knowledge anyway, an engagement letter focusing in on small practice attitudes to auto enrolment, because as you appreciate from tax and from accounting, an engagement letter can drone on and on something that shouldn't be that difficult, but auto enrolment is difficult, and there's lots of permutations. So it'll be very interesting how that goes. But yeah, auto enrolment's a big thing coming on. RTI still hasn't bedded in. We're still seeing these spurious penalties coming out left, right and centre. So that's still going on. We've got all the changes coming with agent online self-service. And we've got HMRC running around like headless chickens trying to pull all these strands together. So it's testing times ahead coming.
Do you think that on the auto-enrolment point, advisors I think that I've spoken to are assuming it'll have to be covered within the payroll costs, but would you be pushing for charging for this sort of work?
Well, if you go online, if you look at the internet and you follow what's happening, the snake oil salesmen are going to tell you you're going to make millions out of this. All your clients are going to pay you fortunes to sort out their auto-enrolment conundrums. The reality is going to be at small practice level, small business level, it is going to be, there's no one else going to stand by these people apart from their accountant, who's probably doing the payroll. And if he's not doing the payroll, they're going to look to the accountant who helps them do the payroll. And yes, it will be perceived as a payroll thing, which means it will come straight back into the accountant's laps. And that's as sure as eggs is eggs. You've got 2 or 3 staff, no one's going to want to know you. And the accountants will have to work out costings and plans, how they're going to cope with the additional work out what It's got to be done. Going to have to educate the clients more because they're going to have to take on some of the auto enrolment work. They can't just assume everything the accountant can do.
And when the revenue talk to your clients compared to talking to the firms that you're saying are perhaps better represented by their professional bodies, are the conversations the same? Do the revenue talk to small firms in the same way as they're talking to the larger firms? Or
they put out this statistic, I think it was 78 to 80% of SMEs have an accountant appointed, or an agent as we call it, much more sexy, but hey, I prefer accountant, but what the hell. But apparently 78% of SMEs have got an agent acting. Yet 44% of the supposed tax gap is down to SMEs. Now, why does it seem important to link these two strange statistics? The 78, 80% I haven't got an issue with, but the tax gap nonsense, the tax gap itself and the calculation's up for grabs. The reality behind the tax gap, so many billion is, they're trying to ascribe that it's something to do with accountants, that there's still 44% of tax gap. Maybe if accountants did something different, we'd have less of a tax gap. I don't know, but that's what they're pinning a lot of their attitude on. And I believe that attitude governs their attitude to small practice accountants. They're as if we are trying to get our clients not to pay, or whatever the perception is, which is errant nonsense. But why bring those statistics out? Backed behind that, of course, we have this new thing, DAS, which they're bringing out and working on now, which is even more to do with small practice accountants.
And DAS is?
DAS is differentiated agent services. Basically, what HMRC are doing, they're consulting, as as we're here sitting here, they're consulting with ICAW, ACCA, CIOT, maybe the ICAS. Maybe that's it. But they're discussing with them about a new system of differentiated agent services. So what they're saying is some agents will find virtually nil help or access to the system, going through a scale to, I don't know, if you're top level, level 9 or whatever you would care to call it, the top of the level, they will get every goodie that's available, everything that's handy, and then, to quote Mr. Hara, they would suffer from a lighter compliance touch from HMRC. Quite what they mean by a lighter compliance touch, I do not know, but the inference is that potentially that certain agents would be granted certain powers, and it would mean that they would not get investigations other than random investigations, which is astonishing, absolutely appalling. We are still trying to get HMRC to engage with us, to engage not just with the ICPA, but to engage with the AIA, to involve the ICB, the Institute of Bookkeepers, Certified Institute, STEP, all these others who have been excluded from these discussions. The inference, of course, is that all of these people are not going to get the same level of sweeties as the other people, based upon what? So there's a lot bubbling away, but when you see that the second in command, I think Harris, says that, then you wonder, why the rest of the soldiers throughout the system are sort of looking at small practice accountants somewhat askance.
And to think about how fundamental this could be, they are looking at the idea of categorising agents and saying, you would be told you were a category 1, you'd be told you were a category 2.
Yes, that's what we've been told in the past. That's what we have to infer, because as I said to you, they are not engaging with us. They are not discussing. Now, we are trying, ourselves and the ICPA, we've joined with a few of the other institutes and organisations, to try and get some clarity and some answers now. So maybe we can put a stop to this nonsense before everyone wastes far too much time on it. But as it stands, that's the situation. Accountants would be in certain groupings. You could be a level 9, I could be a level 2. If 9's the top, I wonder what your advert in your town would say. We're a level 9, come to me. Tony's only 2, tough luck on him. I don't know, but
from what you're saying, it would be. From what you're saying, it'd be along the lines of, we're a level 9, come to us, you probably won't get an inquiry.
Absolutely. And what sort of clients do you think you're going to get from that? Mr. Revenue.
Yeah.
Come on.
But of course, if you're right in what we were talking about at the beginning of our interview, then actually, if the professional bodies aren't looking after those smaller members, then their conversation about this multi-tier system is going to favour the big ones and not help the smaller
But
ones.
no, because if you're part of the ICAEW, for instance, what you're going to be no doubt saying to HMRC is that all our ICAEW people will get top dollar because we're the ICAEW, we're more important. You know, this might be your perceived way of building some bridge with your small practice members and saying, look what we've got for you, or look what we're doing for you. I don't know. I mean, you know, maybe that's what they're... unless till someone comes out and is honest with this, I mean, I can't see how, however many thousands of ICAEW practices there are and all the rest of them, where HMRC are going to look at each individual one. Surely not. There's going to be some sort of blanket, and I would have thought they'd just go all the ICAEW. I would have thought at a raging guess.
So you think it is possible that to pit, and we should say again, we're just picking them for example purposes. It could be that an ICAEW member gets a lighter touch than a CIMA member in practice who is viewed as a different category altogether, and so should be treated differently.
Well, what criteria are they going to adopt to give these levelled and hand out their sweeties? I don't know. They won't tell us. That's why they're consulting, but they're not consulting with, you know, me or our organisation. They're not. I can run through a whole list of organisations they're not consulting with, and I can tell you the 3 or 4 they are consulting with. So there we go.
As I'm sitting here listening to you, I'm finding myself thinking, if I was mulling over being a sole trader or working in a small practice, I might be tempted just to go and get a job in a bigger firm and get all the support instead. But are you finding people are leaving the profession, or?
No. Small practices, small practitioner accountants are a dedicated bunch. When you sit, I mean, you know, in my past experience, you know, when I was an audit manager, you know, all I had to focus on was auditing and auditing techniques. That's what I had to focus on going to courses. We'd throw in tax and all the rest of it just to keep a bit up to date. But, you know, I had to focus on one particular thing. If you call us a GP accountant, we have to cover so many different things. You don't start being a GP accountant unless you really want to, unless you're basically dedicated. You'll find out very quickly if it's not for you. But once you start, if you go for a couple of years, they're not going to disappear. They're not going to curl up and die. You know, small practices don't. You know, if you see what's been thrown at them over the years, you know, no, small practitioner is still there and adding value to their clients and adding value to HMRC. We're the ones basically who've made RTI work, if you say it's working at the moment. It's small, thousands and thousands of small practice accountants, not great big firms, thousands and thousands of small practice accountants who have been inundated with silly RTI penalties that are not right and have all been overturned and all been reduced because it's all down to tech. You know, but we've had to put up with that. You can't pass that bill on to clients, etc. And so no, people, small practice accountants are dedicated and they're not going to go away. I don't think they're just going to curl up and die, and I certainly don't think they'll just all be taken over by bigger firms, because I don't think bigger firms could even begin to understand how to do it.
So if you could say one thing to the viewers today, what would it be?
Small practitioners, I would say to them now, hold on, we're coming in for some rocky times ahead. There's a lot coming up. We've got Auto Enrolment, RTI still being embedded in. We've got agent online self-service. You know, you're going to find when the revenue starts saying, here's your clients, half of them are vanished because of techie problems. So hold your waters. You know, there's some rocky times ahead, but the ICPA, we're here, we recognise your value. If you're concerned, you know, you can always get in touch with us. But if you want to, you need to go to your own institute and start campaigning within your institute for the specialism that you are.
Because actually, bizarrely, you were the happiest you could be as if the ICPA wasn't actually needed.
No, I've said, you know, a million and one times, and it's one thing we want to put an end to here and now. We have never, ever, ever said anybody should leave their institute, should change their institute allegiance. That's absolute nonsense. You never, ever have said that. I've always said, if all the institutes, ICAEW, ACCA, CIMA, all of them, if they all did the job for their individual members, the individual members, if they all did the job that they should do for there would be no need for the ICPA. And then life would be grand. I can get back to doing some double entry and coming along to your tax lectures and learning some stuff, and we could get on with the rest of it. Wouldn't have to get involved in all this stuff. But until they do, then someone's got to help us out, and that's what we're about.
Okay. Tony Margaritelli, thank you very much indeed. Now it's time for Admin Minute.